Okay, number 2, we're going to also factor out the common factor. We have our 2 boxes. And then we have 54n plus 60. So can someone tell me how I would expand 54? What multiplies to give us 54? Any volunteers? You can look at the answer choices. It kind of tells you. How do we expand 54 and 60? I got one in the chat. You're close. So it's not 9 times 5, but 9 times 6 is 54. And then we have an n. And then 60 is just 6 and 10. So then our common factor is a 6. So we have 9n plus 10. So 6 times 9n plus 10 is C. Any questions on number 2? Okay, number 3, we're still doing the common factor, but this time there's 3 terms. So we're going to need 3 boxes. So to get 24, we have 8 and 3. N squared is n and n. 36, 6 times 6 times n. And 8 is, we're just going to leave as 8 and 1 because we, ooh, no, we're not. We need to expand completely. 6 and 6. Oh, so we're going to want to do 4 and 2. No, we're going to want to do complete expansion, 2 times 2 times 2. So let me expand these completely. 2 times 3 and 2 times 3. And then we'll expand this one completely. I was thinking this was 64, so we would have an 8 there. Okay, so now let's see. We have a 2, a 2, and a 2. We have another 2, 2, and 2. And I think that's it. Am I missing anything? I don't think so. So 4 is our common factor. We're left with 2 times 3, which is 6, n times n. 3 times 3 times n. And 1 times 2. That looks like it's D. Okay, why don't you guys go ahead and try number 4. And then let me know, send me in the chat if you get A, B, C, or D. I'm so sorry, Dakota. Can you say that again? It's the connection must be really bad. I'm sorry, Dakota. It's the connection just must be bad. It's all, I can't understand anything that you're saying. I don't know if you want to send it to me in the chat. Is number 2 C? Is that what you're asking? Yes. Okay, let's see. Is number 2 C? Yes. Okay, so someone sent it to me and the answer is, they said the answer was D, and yes, that is correct. So let me show you how we get D. 9 times 10, x times x, 9 times x, negative 1 times 9 times 10. So they all have a 9. And then we are left with 10x squared plus x minus 10, which is D. Okay, now number 5, we have to factor completely. So we have x squared plus 16x plus 63. There's no common factors. So these are where we use our 4 boxes. Factor our trinomials. So we have x squared, we have 16x, and we have 63. So we already know x and x will multiply to give us x squared. Now we need to figure out what multiplies to 63 and adds to 16. Can anyone tell me what multiplies to 63 and adds to 16?
Would it be 7 or 9?
7 and 9.
Yeah, 7 or 9.
7 times 9 is 63. 7 plus 9 is 16. So that gives us our factors of x plus 9 and x plus 7. Thank you, Dakota. And you can always look at the answer choices. It's nice when it's multiple choice. Okay, go ahead and try number 6 on your own. I'll help you get it set up and then send me what you get in the chat when you're done. So in this case, it has to multiply to 6 and add to 5. Okay, so Solomon, what did you get? Not getting volunteers, so I'm gonna have to pick people. Solomon, are you there? Nope.
I'm still working it out. I'm trying to figure it out right now.
Okay, I'll help you out. So what multiplies to 6 and adds to 5?
2 and 3.
2 and 3. So we know that a 2 goes here and a 3 goes here. And what multiplies to give us k squared?
K squared.
So to get x squared, we did x and x. So now it's k squared. So what's it going to be?
K and K.
K and k. There's our factors, k plus 3 and k plus 2. And remember, the order with multiplication doesn't matter. So, but it's in this order, k plus 3 and k plus 2. So that would be B. Okay, number 7 is a little bit of a harder trinomial because a is not 1. So you'll see here we have 2x squared, which means one side has a 2x and one side has an x. So whatever we put here is going to get multiplied by a 2 Whatever we put here is just getting multiplied by a 1x. So it makes things a little bit trickier. We just have to, this is where we just have to guess and check. So we have minus 17x and we have plus 8, which in this case is not so bad because we have answer choices here. So let's see. We know, but just by looking at the answer choices, it's going to be 2x and the 1. And then we know it's going to be x and the 8. Now we just need to figure out what the signs are going to be. So 2x times 8 would give us 16x. 1 times x would give us 1x. 16x plus 1x would give us positive 17x. If we need this to give us negative 17x, then this needs to be negative and this needs to be negative, which means our 8's negative and our 1 is negative. So that would be A. And then we're going to do the same thing for number 8. And let's use the answer choices again. So we know this is 5m and m. And according to the answer choices, we have 5m with the 8. And we have m. It's either, it looks like 2 of them are 8s. So I'm going to guess that it's an 8. And let's see, if we do 5m and 8, we get 40m. And 8 times m, which is 8m. So what do we need to do? 40m, we need to take away 8 of those m's to get 32. So this 8 is a negative. So there's our answer. 5m minus 8 and m plus 8. Any questions on number 8? Okay, and number 9 and number 10 are two-step factoring. So we have to factor the GCF first and then factor with 4 boxes. So 2b squared, that's 2 times b times b. 2 times 2 times 2 times b and 2 times 3. So we're left with 2 and then b squared plus 4b plus 3. Now we need to factor this again with our 4 boxes. B squared plus 4b plus 3. So we know this is b and b. We need to figure out what multiplies to 3 and adds to 4. So you can tell me what multiplies to 3 and adds to 4. Well, there's only one thing that multiplies to 3. So it's got to be 3 and 1. So it's 2 times b plus 1. We have to bring down our GCF, which was 2, and then times b plus 3. That's A. Any questions on number 9? All right, and number 10, we're going to do the same thing. This is two-step factoring, so we need to find the GCF first. Okay, can you send it to me in the chat, Dakota? Sorry, it's just still, I don't know, I can't understand. It's all muffled when you speak. Number 7 is A. Okay, so 3b squared, that's 3 times b times b. Negative 1 times 3 is 9 times another 3 is 27 times b with 3 times 2 is 6, times 2 is 12, times 5 is 60. So it's completely expanded. So we can take out a 3, it looks like. And then we're left with b squared minus 9b plus 10. No, plus 20. 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 5 is 20. So far we have 3 times b squared minus 9b plus 20. Now we need to factor our trinomial with our 4 boxes. B squared minus 9b plus 20. So what multiplies to b squared is b and b. Now what multiplies to 20 and adds to negative 9? Negative 5 and negative 4. That multiplies to 20, that adds to 9. So make sure to bring down your common factor from the first factoring we did, and then it's b minus 5 and b minus 4. So that's b. All right, any questions on factoring? All right, go ahead and submit that, and then we'll go do our Unit 10 review. So Unit 10 was on quadratics.
Can you move my name to the show?
Yeah. Okay. Is everyone on the Unit 10 review? Are you guys ready for me to start? Okay, I think that was a yeah. So for number 1, let's see, we have y equals,
She said she wasn't ready yet.
oh, she said she's not ready yet. Okay.
Yeah.
Dakota, just send it to me in the chat, okay? Because I really can't understand anything. Okay, so we'll wait a minute while you open up the Unit 10 review. I'm wondering if it's Dakota's computer, because Solomon, you're using the same internet as Dakota, right?
Yes.
And see, I can hear you perfectly clear, but is it all muffled when you hear Dakota on Zoom too?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, Dakota's ready. Okay, so remember the standard form of a quadratic function is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And we said that a, remember if a is positive, the graph opens up. If a is negative, the graph opens down. And then c tells us where it crosses the y-axis. It tells us our y-intercept. So looking at y equals negative x squared minus 2x plus 3, we have a negative 1. A is negative 1, which means our graph is opening down. And then our c, which is our y-intercept, is 3. So it crosses the graph at 0, 3 and opens down. So which one of these opens down and crosses the y-axis at 3? A, B, C, or D? You can send it to me in the chat if you want to. So I got a D, but it wouldn't be D because we're looking, it needs to cross the y-axis at 3. This one is not showing that it crosses the y-axis. And the second person, I'm not sure what it's saying. I've done 2, C, and A. Okay. No, I've got a B. No, it's not B. Remember, it has to cross the y-axis at 3. That one's crossing the y at -1. It is opening down, but it doesn't have the correct y-intercept. So we know it's not D. We know it's not B. So is it A or is it C? It's C, right? C, it's going down and then it crosses the y at 3. It has a y-intercept of 3. So we know that number 1 is C. Okay, we'll use the same to figure out number 2. We have y equals 2x squared minus 4x plus 1. So our A is positive, which means our graph's opening up. Our C is 1, which means our y-intercept is 1. So which of these graphs has a y-intercept of 1 and is opening up? A, B, C, or D? Okay, and I got that number 2 is A, and you are correct. So the y-intercept is 1, and this is the only graph with a y-intercept of 1, and it's opening up. So it is A. All right, number 3, we need to solve this by factoring. So we need to find the x-intercepts. So we have x squared, we have 10x, and we have 16. So what multiplies to 16 and adds to 10?
Two and 8.
8, thank you, Dakota. 2 times 8 is 16, 2 plus 8 is 10, excellent. So we get x plus 2 and x plus 8. So we're gonna write our factored form, x plus 2 times x plus 8 equals 0. And now we're trying to find the y-intercept. So we know that it needs to equal 0. So x plus 2 equals 0 and x plus 8 equals 0. So we solve for x. So our first x-intercept is -2. And our second one is -8. So -2 and -8 is B. Any questions on number 3? Okay. Go ahead and try number 4 on your own. So this one, it needs to multiply to -5, but add to 4. So Dakota, it has to multiply to -5 and then add to 4. So we know it's got to be 5 and 1 since 5 is a prime number. So then it needs to add to +4, which means our bigger number needs to be positive, and so we make our smaller number negative. So it'd be x plus 5 and x minus 1. So x plus 5 times x minus 1 equals 0. X plus 5 equals 0, and x minus 1 equals 0. Subtract 5 from both sides, and x equals -5. Add 1 to both sides, and x equals 1. So it'd be C. Okay, now we're going to do some quadratic formula. So, and remember, all of this is in your notes too. So the notes are great to study before your final. And that's technically your assignment for today, is to just study for your final. And so number 5, we're going to be doing the quadratic formula, which says x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So that's in your notes. So we have 3b squared minus 5b minus 1 equals 0. So according to your notes, first you need to identify A, B, and C. So in this case, A is the number in front of the squared term, which means A is 3. B is the number in front of the x term, which is -5. And C is the number without a variable, which is -1. And then we plug in and simplify and solve. So x equals negative, and remember to put b in parentheses. So -5 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is -1. All over 2 times a, which is 3. So we multiply, -5 becomes +5 plus or minus -5 squared. 5 times 5 is 25. -4 times 3 is -12. -12 times 1 is +12. Divided by 2 times 3, which is 6. Simplify until we can't simplify anymore. 25 and 12 is 37 over 6. Which means it is B. Any questions on quadratic formula number 5? Okay, number 6, we have p squared minus 11p plus 22 equals 0. So A is 1, B is -11, and C is 22. So we have -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 22, all over 2 times a, which is 1. And so we have 11 plus or minus the square root of 121 minus 4 times 1, which is 4, times 22, which is 88. Divided by 2. So 121 minus 88 is 33. So that would be A. Any questions on quadratic formula? Okay, and then we are identifying the parts of a parabola. So let's look at our notes really quick. So remember, we have the x-intercepts are where it crosses the x-axis. The y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. The vertex is the highest or the lowest point of the parabola. And the axis of symmetry is the vertical line that goes through the vertex. So for number 7, 0, 3, is that the x-intercept, the y-intercept, the minimum, or the maximum?
Isn't it minimum?
So 0, 3 is right here. What is this point right here? Can you guys see where my cursor is pointing?
The 3?
It's pointing to 3, yeah. And so is that the x-intercept, the y-intercept? Remember, the minimum and the maximum is
The y.
Go forward.
The y intercept.
right. That's where the graph crosses the y-axis, which means it is the y-intercept. Okay, -2, -1 is so here's -2, -1 is this point right here, the x-intercept, y-intercept, the minimum or the maximum? This point right here.
That one's the minimum.
That one's the minimum, right? That's the lowest point of our parabola. Okay, what is the vertex of this graph? So here's our vertex. What is this point right here? So what's this point right here at the top of our graph? The highest point of this graph. Is it 0, -5, 4, -5, 2, 3, or 2, 0?
Two, 0.
So 2, 0, that means x is 2 and y is 0. That would be right here. So it's not 2, 0.
3, 0.
That's not an option. So it can't be that one. 3, 0 would be right here. We're trying to find this point right here.
Two-thirds.
2, 2, 3, right. You go to x is 2, and then you go up to y, which is 3. And so it's 2, 3. And then what is the y-intercept of this graph? So the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So what value does this graph cross the y-axis? So where does it cross the y-axis? So remember, when you're finding the y-intercept, all you have to do is look at the y-axis and you go down it until you see where it hits, which this graph should be much larger. Unfortunately, it was input very small and tiny, but it looks like it crosses at, here's -2,
This is
-3,
at 3. I'm 4.
at -4. It's almost there. It's really at -5, but it's very hard to tell with such a small graph. So it's that first one, 0, -5. All right, so then all you guys have left, except unless you've skipped some assignments, but that's it for all the new stuff, is your final, which should be up there hopefully very soon.